Brimscombe Mill. The beginning. A once thriving centre of industry, nestled in the River Frome Valley in Stroud, the mill site was recovered from what was a near derelict state to become a shining beacon of social enterprise. It's a beacon of hope, of activity, of creativity, and above all, a thriving centre for the local and wider community. Founded by two good-hearted guys, Will North and Tom Herbert, through the medium of a social enterprise known as the Grace Network, a vision for a new way of living emerged onto the world stage in this gateway Gloucestershire town. And what visitors find there is truly special indeed. The hive of activity is built around what's called the Long Table, a place where people come and have coffee, snacks or lunch, and later evening dinner, all served at a price which the individual customer determines they can afford. Boom. Who else does that? The Long Table is what this project is perhaps best known for, but it's only one project within several based, all under one roof, on the mill site. Others include a furniture bank selling donated furniture, the kids' stuff shop selling clothing, toys and other accessories, plus the Bike Drop, a shop selling reconditioned bicycles, bike maintenance and repair services. All in all, Brimscombe Mill has become a beacon of light, showing a pathway forward for every community everywhere. With all that said, there is only one special ingredient of magic which is unique to this community project, and it is simply this. It's the community. What has made this project so special, so vibrant, steered so skillfully by its dedicated management team, is the community itself. A community of ordinary people coming together, and by doing that, they have made something very special. On this particular evening, in mid-March 2024, the same community is invited into the mill for a particular reason. In the last weeks, the mill has been sold to a new owner, and an early break clause in the project's 5-year lease has been exercised. The new owner wants possession of the site, meaning the project now has to move out and be gone within 6 months. How and where to was the question for the assembled community. The task on this evening was to exercise the community's ingenuity and imagination to help determine a pathway forward. A pathway forward for this wonderful project and for the community the project was born from.
How's everyone doing? Hope you're all right. If you're in the queue, do keep queuing if you want food. If you've got food and you're eating, don't worry. My name is Will. I am the chairman of what's called Stroud Grace Network CBS Limited, which is the company that look after Brimscombe Mill. The businesses here are all owned by Stroud Grace Network. It's the organisation that helps hold this place together. I'm a bit nervous tonight because I'm worried I'll become an internet meme when I fall off this table and become a viral sensation. But let's hope I can avoid that. Firstly, thanks everyone for coming. When we put out our little Instagram post last week, we had no idea of what the response would be, and it's amazing to see so many friends, people that have built bits of the building, people that I see here all the time playing table tennis, eating here. It is absolutely wonderful to have so many people here. Before I start, there is a practice we do at work that my colleagues regularly dislike, particularly when they're in a bad mood or busy or stressed out. But I make them do it anyway. We call it thankfulness. It is the most simple thing in the world. The studies say people that are thankful live happier, longer lives. So we remind our staff, most days it's good to be thankful. So before I go on, you've got 30 seconds to tell someone next to you one thing that you're thankful for as we start tonight.
Oh yeah, my mum.
Okay, there's your 30 seconds. I've got no idea where you've come from tonight, what you do, where you've been, what's going on in your life. But we live in a beautiful part of the world and we've got so much to be thankful for. And it's so important at times of crisis, as sometimes this feels, to remember that thankfulness is the bedrock of what we do. I'm going to speak for about 10 minutes, then I'm going to invite Tom to come up. And after Tom finishes about 10 minutes later, we're going to disperse you guys all around the site to take part in different sections where you'll be able to talk. So it won't be a long set of talks from me. Tom will explain how it's going to work. But we want to hear as many voices as possible, so we've tried to design tonight for people to get some voices. I'm going to go through a few bits of the situation, answer a few FAQs that we've got, and then hand over to Tom. So first and foremost, we use the phrase broken on our press release, because regardless of what you think about what's gone on in the past, what's happening now, this situation feels deeply broken to us. We are worried that we'll have to leave, we're worried about the 53 jobs on site, and I personally feel broken that I was the one negotiating the purchase that never happened. I never got there. And so I feel a real sense of sadness, which I think is fine, right? Life isn't always good. Life can be sad. But as we're here today, we want to try and transform that sadness into something positive. We have been blown away by the response. We've put out one public set of press release on one Instagram post, and I'm stressed out to find out people are talking about it all over the country. We've had famous people do Instagram lives, we've had national press come here. It is like going to your own funeral, and it's been beautiful. I'm sure at my funeral I'll be described as tall and handsome, despite the reality. And some of the feedback we've had has been so wonderful, the pressure is on us to live up to it, whatever happens. So thank you for those that have posted nice things. It is lovely to know that the hobby that I was part of starting 11 years ago has become a major part of Stroud's domestic fabric. And that is testament to all of you guys who are our advocates and our friends. So we've been blown away. We at Grace Network have 5 values that we try and live out every day. And I want to try and encourage us to use these values tonight. The first one of our values is risk-taking. We believe that it's our job as those who are privileged enough to have brains and money and ideas to share our stuff with other people and take risks that can actually hurt us as individuals. When we signed this lease 3 years ago, we knew it was going to be risky, and it's proven thus. We also believe one of our values is hard work. If you've ever been here in winter, you'll know it's freezing cold. You have to be committed and work hard to stay here. And many of you and many of us have spent hours on this building, hours sorting clothes, getting furniture, going to talks. And we're going to need a lot of that hard work over the next few months as we try and push forward. A third one of our values, which is super useful all the time, is that we believe in being fast moving. We will be able to find a new location and move to it if we have to, and move there in days or weeks. In part because we've got so many people to help us, but in part because we know sometimes in life you have to move fast. So we're ready to move, whether it's to buy this site, whether it's to lease it, whether it's to go somewhere else, and we will expect you guys to help us with it. Our fourth value is generosity. We always try to do our best to give away first and take what we need second. Sometimes that's easy to do, sometimes that's hard. At the moment, there's a lot of stuff going around that isn't always generous about landlords, about the system we're part of. And we want to encourage people to try and find that spirit of generosity and always think to treat others how we'd like to be treated. Even when we're wronged, we need to love our enemies. Even when we're feeling sad, we have to be kind. And again, tonight we want to really encourage people to be generous with their ideas, with their time, and with their concepts. And finally, in terms of this bit, we have a fifth value of optimism. I wouldn't do this job if I didn't think that love wins at the end. Despite how the world looks, I remain optimistic that humans getting together can make massive change. In fact, the statement goes that change only happens when individual citizens get going. So we want to remain optimistic in how we speak, in what we say, in what we do. And as we go through tonight, trying to think of what does good look like for everybody involved. All parties need to mutually flourish in this. And so that is our objective. How do we make Stroud flourish? How do we make the district flourish? How do we change our economy to be more like the one we want it to be? So very quickly, before I hand over to Tom, I wanted to go through some of the FAQs we've been had. There won't be much from the front tonight, but I thought there were some bits that people keep asking me, but I try and put to bed super quickly. The first one is, lots of people think the land was sold last June. If you look at the land registry records, you can see a transfer. That was an internal transfer between the old landlord's companies. We didn't buy it, no one external bought it. The most recent sale hasn't been updated on the land registry yet, although our solicitors say it has been sold. We did try, as you can guess, to extend the lease with the old landlord, the first landlord we had. We've got numerous emails, phone conversations, agents, valuations. I feel like a striker whose job it is to score penalties, and I've missed one. It was my job to try and secure the lease. We did try, we were naive perhaps, and we didn't do it. Everything that's happened is totally legal. One man can sell to another man how he wants, when he wants, for whatever price he wants. Our sense of sadness is that it feels slightly frustrating, to say the least, that we didn't get a good chance to do it. But nothing that's gone on deserves criminal punishment or the like. We could have raised the money to buy the site. Cash was never the problem. We used to get offers from the old landlord. I'd send them to our solicitors and our valuers, and they would say that you can't pay that price. As a charity, there are limits to what I'm allowed to gamble, as much as I like to take risks. And so money was never the big problem. If the new landlord wants to sell it to us, I'm sure we can find the money. Why was the old lease so short? If you go into the sanctuary, the space at the front of the site, you will see photos of what the building looked like. There was human excrement inside, there was no windows, there was no roof. When we took the lease, we had to get the right balance between not signing a 70-year lease on a derelict building versus not having too short a lease. We had a 5-year lease with some break clauses in, and that's why those clauses have been used. We haven't named the landlords directly in public, and we don't intend to. We want to try and negotiate quietly with people, and so that's our job. And finally, where are we going to move to? We don't know. We might stay here, we might move somewhere else. We're going to put in some offers to other sites that might keep us going, but part of tonight is to get wisdom from you guys to let us know where we're going. And so before I hand over to Tom, I want to say once more, Grace Network only exists because we believe, our staff, our customers, our community, that the world can change, love can win, and our economy hasn't got to be done this way. If we want to make changes because we don't like what's happened here, we as citizens can do that. And our job tonight is to come together and think, how do we make our economy work better for the people that live in Stroud, the planet that we're part of, and the corporate community that we all represent. So I'm going to hand over to Tom and carefully get down and avoid falling off. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Thanks, Will. I'm dressed as the Mill Elf tonight because I guess that's part of my role. And I've just got a few things to say. So firstly, I'm Tom, and it's fallen to me to shape our communication response as we learnt the shocking news that we're being asked to leave this place. We need to work out, well, how do we do that? And the first thing is we need to, when you've got a problem, identify, tell people about it. So first, the team, I want to thank Joe Mansell for helping us craft, work out how we tell the team, and of course that was emotional and shocking for everyone. And then a load more people joined in and helped us craft a public statement, which a lot of you would have read and seen. And then the news is out, it's out there, stuff starts being said and stuff starts happening. And it really begs the question, what next? So we find ourselves in this situation. for those of you that, this is Lent, we're coming up to Easter, you've got Good Friday, you've got Easter Sunday, and we find ourselves in this liminal kind of Easter Saturday vibes where we don't know what's going to happen next. But we're not alone, we've got you guys, and for that we're hugely grateful. As Will mentioned, we've got some amazing photos that show how, with your help, we breathed life back into the beautiful bones of this mill. It's always been beautiful. This is the kind of place where people used to work maybe on this site for a few hundred years, and if the people that worked here 100 years ago, if you told them that in the future there will be education to 18, healthcare, holidays, they'd think you were crazy. And part of our job here is to think about and actually act as if, for some of the things we desire for the future, we want for ourselves and our children. And this story massively includes you guys. So this place, over the last couple of years that we worked in, we've celebrated in the summers. We've had a wedding here. We've got another one booked. 4 people from the Nelson Trust locally have been baptised by Ed in the river. We've celebrated in here and had great fun evenings. We've also worked through the bitter cold of winter on more than one occasion. And for us, it's become our home. And as you see, we've been denied what we've hoped for, the plans for this place, by powerful commercial forces. But we do have something of a plan starting to shape, and I want to share that with you now. The first thing is fill the mill. That's what we thought we could do. Well, while we've got it and we love it, I wonder how full we can make it. And this is the first thing on the calendar since deciding that, and I think we can tick this one off. So our plan while we've got here is to fill this mill, and maybe you'll have ways that you can suggest to help us do the same thing. Because every time this mill's filled, more people get to enjoy a meal at the table, more people get to share in this economy of kids stuff and furniture bank and get their bikes fixed and so much more. So the next thing, plan A, is to stay. We think that there's some things that we can do. We're talking to our landlord. Obviously, if we could stay here, we would love that. And maybe that story's got some way to go. But also, we need to be diligent and work at finding a new home, which, as Will suggested, is already well underway. So, this isn't our first rodeo. Some of you will know us for a long time and seen that we've been evicted once before, and we found this place as our home. So I trust that with your help, we can do that. We can do that again. And it's just been my observation that I want to share with you that whilst there's commercial forces that have brought about what's happening here, that we understand and we participate in. There's a new currency that doesn't show up on the same balance sheet as these economic forces, and that new currency is community. And it's so powerful, and so much can happen when we work together. And one of those things we want to do for working together is really just having you here is amazing. We also want to hear from you. So tonight we've worked out by seeing that there's been so much has been out on social media. We've had I just want to do a couple of thank yous actually, while I've got the chance. So Stroud Times were in here first. They did a great job of really representing what was happening. There's been a lot on Facebook and WhatsApp groups. I want a special thanks to Tim Harris. Is he here? I heard he might be coming. Hi Tim, thank you for your wonderful open letter. The spirit with which you wrote that was just fantastic. And of course, our sisters in Stroud Sisterhood group. Your open letter, apparently that's had well over 1,000 signatures to it. Again, just incredible to feel your love and your support in that way. Thank you. We've had BBC Gloucestershire Radio. Thanks Anna Lewis for talking so eloquently on all of our behalf there, and the others, and BBC Points West have been here. And there's loads more still to come. Damien Gale from The Guardian, he wrote an amazing article that some of you would have read a couple of weeks ago before this was all announced. I couldn't move around Stroud. It was the slowest visit to Stroud Farmers Market I've ever had. The amount of people that read that article is phenomenal. And this guy's come back, he's heard our story, and they're going to be running that either tonight or tomorrow. They were in here taking photos, so there's more to come. Word's getting out about our situation. But what are we going to do with all this energy and all this attention? Well, we want to hear what you have to say. So I have adapted what I understand of the what do we call it? Open spaces technology. So it's a way of hearing from everyone. Thanks, Pippa. You showed me the way, Pippa Jones. And we have just adapted this so that we can hear from lots of you. To that end, we've set up 7 tables. I think I'm standing on one of them. There'll be others dotted around. I'll just tell you what there are in a minute. And the idea is that there'll be someone at each table representing part of this conversation. And there's only one rule with this way of working, and that is use your feet. You've got 2 feet, use them. Get involved in a conversation around any of these topics, which I'm just going to list up here. The topics include legal stuff. That's going to be headed up by Joe Mansell, and that's going to be outside in the failing light. Bring your head torches and your phone torches. So there's lots to be said. Will's touched on a lot of that already, but if that's your thing, if that's your jam, or you're passionate or have some ideas that anything to do with legal, go out there and get stuck into a conversation. Will Mansell, who just spoke, he's going to be outside with his sister, talking about everything financial, how the money works, how it might work. Maybe you've got ideas, maybe you've got offers of cash to help us stay or move. Go and speak to Will. Inside the furniture bank, I'm going to ask John Wordsworth, who I just met a minute ago here, to head up a table about culture, and I've got some notes on that, John, so don't worry, come and see me in a minute. So the culture of this space, there's so much to say about that. John knows a little bit, but you'll know loads. If you care about culture eats strategy for breakfast, as someone once said. If we're going to fix it, it's going to be through great healthy culture and values. That's over in Furniture Bank. Ed Sullivan is part of the team here, and he's going to be in the sanctuary space, which is on the way in, talking about story, the power of story. We've set up a big storyboard in there, there's photos, so we'd love your contribution on that. Will North is going to be at the long table, just behind you, talking about place. And Karina Price is going to be here. Kind Comms, Jess and Dan are going to be where I'm standing, talking about communications. So lots has happened, loads to go. If you've got ideas and want to get involved in that conversation, please do. And finally, Booker as well as Stroud, and we always need a massive miscellaneous bucket for all the other amazing ideas that you creative and wonderful people will have. I'm going to be hosting on the long table, the other table. So if you've got something I've not already mentioned, that's the bucket for everything else. Bring your ideas and your wonderfulness, and let's have a conversation around that. So the way this works is at a certain time, I think we said 7:30, we'll ring a bell, and we'll bring the conversations to a very fast close, and someone from each table will have been nominated by your table to share in 3 minutes what was discussed. So at the end of this evening, we'll just get some feedback from everyone, and it's a wonderful, magical experience because there's so many of you here, and you all get to have a say and participate in this wonderful conversation about what is here about, what makes here special, where might we go, or how might we grow, and share what we have here with other communities. And we know we can't do that without you, so we're hoping 7 tables. It's our best idea, it's all we've got. But we're going to get it started that way, and then there's going to be another evening like this on the something of April. And we'll publicise that and share that with you. It's on our socials. And we'll take the baton from tonight. We'll have done lots of activity, and we'll feed back to you that evening. So I hope that makes sense. It's going to be chaos. You're going to have to get ready to move, basically, in a minute. There's a lot more people than we had expected. So before we do that, just bear in mind that what's part of, we don't have many levers with what we've got. We've got a huge amount of love and interest and attention. But we can share these stories, so please do take photos. Glad to see you here, David, filming this. So there's lots that can be shared. If you can share what tonight is about with other people, that'd be great. A couple more tiny bits. On the way in, there's an I'm here sheet. We would really appreciate, it's like a register, basically. Don't worry about giving us all your contact details, but do just mark it with you're here. And if you're here for a different reason than what we've mentioned, make sure you write it out, we can pick it up. So there's going to be a few of us after tonight really going through all the notes from each table, and there will be a prize of some sort from the table, the conversation that does the best job of presenting back, because why not? And these sheets, these beautiful things with all your ideas and comments and actions and observations will be displayed in the sanctuary. The sanctuary space is going to become the new home for all of this. All of what we feel now and all of what we might yet do is going to be hosted in that space. So I think that's it from me. Have I missed anything? I don't think so. Just massive thanks from me. It's been such a privilege to hear what so many of you have had to say, and I hope this is a good enough job to channel that into action that builds forward momentum, because this community is awesome, and how could it possibly die with friends like these? Thank you.
Community stories and people needing to tell their stories of what's happened for them in this space, and do that in a way that feels organic to you. Utilise your social media platforms and utilise the tools that you have and speak with your community to tell people about that. Especially get some videos online, but it needs to be community-led rather than from the Grace Network. We also talked about objectives, and the communications needed to have clear objectives, such as number 1, hashtag fill the mill. So when you're sharing, use that hashtag. The second one is to stay. The third one is to find maybe a third place to house all of these organisations. And a fourth point was to use a strategy to make sure that all of our communications are aligned and singing from the same hymn sheet. And okay, there's more. It's a mess. So there's lots on here that we discussed. We also thought it would be great to connect with other communities to bring our stories together and really talk about what community brings to everyone in the Stroud community. And another great idea was, so the company that are due to be moving into here in August are speakers based, but why don't we bring speakers, human speakers, into this space and make it super positive and show a win-win-win situation for everyone. So it's great here for you guys, it's a win for the people coming in and speaking, and it's even a win for the people that could be moving in here, the speakers company.
Wow. Speakers for speakers, we heard it here first. Thank you, Jess. Common culture. Why don't you show off this could be the new format, so if you've yet to speak, how about something like this? And then I can hand the mic to...
Thank you. Can I ask someone to... Yes, amazing. So we are a cultural movement, and every cultural movement needs a home. Why we love this place so much and why this place matters is because this is a remedy. This is medicine for loneliness and isolation. You are welcome to be and come as you are. We here are closing the cultural gap and changing the narrative. People talked about the kindness economy, valuing non-monetary wealth, everything that makes community thriving. Another really positive part of this place is its intersectionality, bringing communities and different businesses together, different generations and different cultures. People talked about this place as not a food bank, but a multi-bank, and kind of like a social enterprise department store. So there were lots of ideas flying around. I think the main one that we would like to see is a true celebration of change and community, which could take place as a festival. Exhibitions, music, artists, theatre play, radio, poets. We could collaborate with amazing cultural institutions like Studio 18 and SVA. And maybe in a more simple format, short format videos could be made to really show the spirit and the soul of this place, to be widely shared on social media. And then also wanted to share a few reflections about maybe some advantages about moving elsewhere. So there were some questions about maybe this is an opportunity to actually replicate our shared cultures and values elsewhere. Maybe we can bring it closer to Stroud Town Centre. How can we integrate some of the learnings and principles into the fabric of Stroud? And we also talked about accessibility, so I think it's important to acknowledge that people who are less mobile, younger folks, teens and older people can't necessarily come here. So there was a wild idea of a Brimscombe Mill bus doing a rideshare scheme, inviting one person who has not been here in the next 6 months. Reach out to your neighbour, somebody maybe from your workplace, and invite them to come here if they haven't yet. Yes, and maybe one last thing is we acknowledge that the biggest risk to culture is when communities are split up. So we are hoping that there are ways that we can stick together as people and take this forward.
Those guys, culture, eating strategy for breakfast, and you Brimscombe bus. You heard it here first. That's amazing. Wow. Okay, who's ready to go next?
I'm finance.
Oh yeah.
I was part of the finance conversations. We talked a bit about raising money. We talked about getting a long-term freehold, which means owning the site or a site. Lots of great ideas. As of all of life, it's about all parties coming together to make a deal. And we were saying how there's still a beautiful story to come out of this. This tempest of emotion might end up with everybody mutually flourishing. So lots of ideas there.
Great. Thanks, Will. Thanks everyone on the legal table. Do we have financial table? Do we have anyone legal?
Yep.
Oh, Jeremy.
Thanks, Tom. I think Joe and I thought we'd drawn the short straw with legal, we sat on our own, but thank you for everyone that came round and lots of ideas. I think really good support for the approach that we're taking at the moment, good approach for a positive, optimistic outlook, but also encouraged to just not close off any sort of legal routes. So we've looked at that. And I think one of the more creative suggestions or things that were pointed out was to think about the Eiffel Tower. Apparently the Eiffel Tower started off as a temporary structure and it's sort of tended to hang around a bit. So we were sort of encouraged to think a little bit along those lines. So if you see something going up on this site, that's something we might have taken on board. We're not normally sort of short of creative ideas here, but I have to admit we hadn't come up with an Eiffel Tower model. So thanks again for everyone that really engaged with that, and also some really good offers of very relevant support and help as we move forward. So yeah, thanks everyone for calling on legal.
Great, thank you, Jeremy. From Eiffel Towers to stories. Ed, are you going to represent your bit? Let's have some help holding it, if that's all right. Thank you.
Thank you. We were actually far too busy listening and sharing stories that we didn't write very much, sorry. But we had a fun time, and I guess we couldn't help but sort of keep asking, where is this story heading? There's so many beautiful moments. We really want to know, but and we were wrestling with making sure that actually we're not passive. Here we've got a story of a win, a story of resistance, a story to inspire other communities, a story to inspire the young. And so we might not know how it ends, but actually, if we do those things, if we live our values, if we live like Grace, it's in the name of the Grace Network, then then that story is going to be beautiful, and it's not going to stop on August the 25th. We know that.
Oh, thank you, Ed. Last but not least, the other table.
Hello. Can everyone hear okay? So, yeah, we talked about many things on the other table, but what we actually came to was almost a kind of timeline that starts out now, where right now the people at the long table are working to talk to the landlord to tell him, like, the new landlord to tell him, this actually isn't okay, this is a very valuable community institution that we need to, like, remain here. And yeah, this is already being done, try and convince him. Then into the medium term, there were ideas around having a separate action group set up of, like, residents and local people who could do more than the long table team can, who have a different relationship to that new landlord. There was like a question of how is this project working with the other projects in town. So some of them mentioned were the Trinity Rooms, Creative Sustainability, Brimscombe Mill, the Heavens, all places that are contesting spaces, that are having their spaces taken away from them by landlords and by the fact they maybe don't have as much money as other spaces. How can people be working together so that this isn't a competition, this is a bringing together of a community. Then there was things about, like, how this should be a template that should be rolled out nationally, like people could be taking inspiration from this space. Questions about like how can we change the way that, like, currency works here, an expansion of the crop share to be more of a barter system. And then, like, getting political will behind it. I know there are quite a lot of local councillors here tonight, but, like, what can that be turned into? How can that be inspiring? The other things. Yes, and then looking into the longer term, when if these things fail, if it doesn't work, what is actually the plan to defend this space? This is a community win. We cannot let this go. It might move, it might change, but like I'm part of Sister. We squatted a building in the town centre in the summer, and we turned it into a community institution. We were evicted, and we lost that community space. And yeah, I guess we had an offer and a suggestion that something similar could be done here. That that kind of community could be built. That is saying, like, just because a landlord wants us out, that doesn't mean that we're going to go. Because this is our space, this is our community, and we are going to defend that. We're going to defend this win. So yeah, but hoping that I'll listen to it.
Amazing job. So I'm just going to hand over to Will for some closing thoughts. From me, just a massive thanks. There's been a huge amount of energy and ideas, and we look forward to having you back here for more. So just from me, massive thanks. Will.
Thank you, everybody. We're going to close now this part of our evening. Stay around, have a drink, chat with people. Thank you so much for taking the time to come out on a Thursday evening, I think it's Thursday, to come here, share your ideas, share your energy. There's a quote that I often read to our staff. In fact, it was in the toilets until I left the site and it got taken down, which depressed me. It says this, it says, we are not to simply bandage the wounds of the victims beneath the wheels of injustice. We are to drive a spoke into the wheel itself. I'm not saying that Brimscombe Mill is the victim here. There are people in our economy who can't access decent clothes. There are children in India who make bad quality clothes that are sold. The world is dying, the oceans are getting too hot. We as a community are the way forward. It might not be this building, it might not be this space, but what we need to do is remember our job isn't to just let our economy roll on. Grace Network wasn't set up just to try and help, it was to try and drive change. We need to look for a peaceful answer. Love needs to win. Anyone involved from all parties, we can still have a beautiful, mutually flourishing output. Our job as a community is to see the economy we're part of be one that we're proud and happy and that no one is left behind. So I hope as we go from this place, we will remember that we started with thankfulness. We should be thankful for all we've got. And one of the best things we can do is take our energy out of this place and be kind and helpful and think, what sort of world do we want to leave for our children? and then we will keep this energy and see what's next. So thank you for coming along. Please go in peace. Let's try and find something good to come forward from this. And life looked backwards always looks like it has a plan. So in 6 months we'll say, wasn't it great what happened in March? Because now look at us. So go away in peace and spend your time knowing that love will win ultimately. Have a good evening, everyone.